two horribly deformed women, Madeline and Helen, get into a heated argument that quickly turns violent. Helen accidentally steps on a can of spray paint and loses her balance at the top of the stairs. Madeline watches as Helen starts to fall, but Helen grabs her and pulls her down with her. Their bodies shatter into pieces at the bottom of the stairs, but somehow they can still talk. So how did they end up like this? Let's go back in time. Madeline used to be a beautiful and successful actress. During one of her performances, Helen's boyfriend Ernest, a talented plastic surgeon, becomes fascinated by Madeline's beauty. Madeline soon realizes that Ernest is interested in her, and she deliberately gets between him and Helen. She eventually marries Ernest, leaving Helen completely devastated and heartbroken. 7 years later, Helen is still obsessed with Madeline and the life she stole from her. She has gained a lot of weight and lives alone in a messy apartment, spending most of her time eating and watching television. She repeatedly watches a scene from one of Madeline's movies, where Madeline's character is killed, enjoying the scene every time. Her landlord eventually comes to collect her unpaid rent, but Helen is in no condition to deal with him. He has no choice but to call the police, who take Helen to a psychiatric hospital. For months, Helen stays there and keeps talking about Madeline and how she ruined her life. The other patients become so tired of hearing the same story that they scream whenever Helen starts talking about her again. But Helen is not giving up. She patiently waits for the right opportunity to get revenge on Madeline. 7 more years pass, and Madeline and Ernest are now living in a luxurious mansion in Beverly Hills. Madeline has largely stepped away from acting, while Ernest's life has gone in the opposite direction. His marriage to Madeline has made him miserable, and he has become an alcoholic. His career as a plastic surgeon has also fallen apart, forcing him to work as an embalmer. Suddenly one morning, Madeline receives an invitation to Helen's book launch. When she sees Helen's name, she remembers the overweight woman she used to know and immediately wants to look better than her. Before going to the event, Madeline visits a French beauty spa for another rejuvenating treatment. The spa girl warmly welcomes her, but Madeline is nervous and impatient because she wants to look younger and more beautiful for Helen. She asks for another treatment, but the spa girl warns her that she has already had one recently and that getting another one so soon could be dangerous. Madeline doesn't care and is even willing to pay twice the normal price. Just as she starts asking about the cost, the spa owner arrives and tells her about a mysterious woman who may have the perfect solution to her problem. He then gives Madeline an address, but Madeline doesn't believe what she has been told at first and leaves. Finally, night falls and Madeline and Ernest arrive at the luxurious mansion where Helen's book launch is being held. The place is packed with wealthy guests and Helen's fans. Madeline assumes that Helen has somehow created this glamorous event to show off her success. She soon notices a beautiful and confident woman surrounded by guests. Madeline is shocked when she realizes that this woman is Helen. After all these years, Helen still looks young and beautiful, with no sign of the overweight woman Madeline remembers. Madeline walks up to her to make sure she is really Helen. Helen warmly hugs Madeline. Madeline tries to hide her jealousy behind a smile, but she is clearly stunned by Helen's transformation. Madeline kisses Helen on the cheek, leaving a red lipstick stain as a warning that she intends to steal Ernest from her again, just as she stole Helen's boyfriend years ago. Later, Helen pulls Ernest away from the crowd and talks to him privately. Madeline notices them together and secretly listens to their conversation. Helen tells Ernest that she doesn't blame him for leaving her because everything that happened afterward was because of Madeline. She reminds him that Madeline ruined his life, destroyed his career as a plastic surgeon, and left him miserable, forcing him to work with dead bodies as a mortician. Helen then begins pulling Ernest back toward her, while secretly planning to use him to get revenge on Madeline. After the party, Ernest returns to his office and looks at an old picture of himself with Helen. Meanwhile, Madeline goes to meet her young lover, but when she arrives, she discovers him with another woman who is much younger than her. Madeline is devastated when she realizes that even her young lover has replaced her with a younger woman. She quietly leaves, feeling humiliated and painfully aware of her own age. As she drives through the rain, her makeup begins to run, making her look even worse. When she sees her reflection in the mirror, she becomes horrified by what she sees and suddenly slams on the brakes, nearly causing an accident. Desperate to hide her aging, Madeline searches for a way to regain her youth and remembers the mysterious address she received from the beauty spa. She goes there and arrives at a huge mansion, where she meets a mysterious woman named Liesel. Despite looking like a beautiful young woman, Liesel claims to be 71 years old and says that she has never aged. Lyle then shows Madeline a mysterious potion that can restore a person's youth and make them immortal. Madeline is shocked by the expensive price and hesitates at first, but after Lyle demonstrates its power, Madeline quickly writes a check and buys the potion. Madeline drinks the potion and waits for something to happen. Liesel then attaches a small pin to her clothes, marking her as one of the people who have taken the potion. As Madeline leaves, she stops in front of a mirror and suddenly notices something strange. Within moments, her wrinkles disappear and her skin becomes smooth again. She transforms into a young, beautiful woman, looking exactly as she did years ago. Meanwhile, Helen takes advantage of Ernest's feelings and convinces him to help her get rid of Madeline. Their plan is to drug Madeline, make her look drunk, and cause an accident that will make her death appear accidental. They believe the police will find nothing suspicious and blame the whole thing on alcohol. Helen leaves the mansion just before Madeline returns home. Madeline proudly admires her youthful appearance in the mirror, but her happiness doesn't last long. Ernest suddenly arrives, furious with her. He blames Madeline for ruining his life, destroying his career, and wasting all his money. His anger gets out of control and he grabs Madeline by the throat. Madeline begs him to stop and Ernest finally lets her go. But the argument continues and Madeline ends up near the top of the stairs. She loses her balance and desperately tries to hold on. Ernest reaches out to help her, but their argument starts again. In a moment of rage, Ernest pushes her away, sending Madeline tumbling down the stairs. Madeline falls to the bottom of the stairs and breaks her neck. Terrified that he has killed her, Ernest immediately calls Helen for help. But Helen is furious because Ernest didn't follow their original plan. The two of them quickly come up with a fake story to tell the police. Meanwhile, something unbelievable happens. Madeline suddenly gets back up and starts talking as if nothing happened. But her head is twisted backward, leaving Ernest horrified. He falls to the ground and screams in shock. Madeline calmly asks him to help straighten her neck, but Ernest is too terrified to touch her. So Madeline fixes her own neck and continues talking as if nothing happened. Ernest quickly takes Madeline to the emergency room for an examination. The doctor checks her heartbeat, but there is no pulse. He checks again, but Madeline's body is also unusually cold, almost like a corpse. The doctor becomes terrified and leaves the room, convinced that Madeline is clinically dead. Ernest is completely confused because Madeline is clearly standing in front of him, despite having no heartbeat. He realizes that her body is somehow dead while she is still alive. Madeline is shocked when she learns the truth and suddenly faints. Ernest rushes out to find the doctor, but he discovers that the doctor has suffered a heart attack and is being resuscitated by other doctors. When Ernest returns to Madeline's room, a female doctor tells him that Madeline has already been sent to the morgue. Ernest immediately rushes to the morgue and finds Madeline lying inside one of the freezers. He brings her back home, but her body is beginning to lose its color. Since he knows how to prepare dead bodies, he prepares her body. Meanwhile, Helen comes to Ernest's mansion, believing that Madeline is dead. But Ernest tells her that Madeline is still alive, even though her body has no heartbeat. Madeline, who has been eavesdropping on their conversation, suddenly appears with a gun and shoots Helen in the stomach. The blast sends Helen flying into the air before she lands in the pool. Ernest is horrified, thinking he now has another death to deal with, but Madeline tells him they can bury Helen together. As they prepare to deal with Helen's body, she suddenly wakes up with a huge hole in her stomach. Ernest and Madeline can't believe their eyes. Then Madeline notices the pin Lysol gave her attached to Helen's dress and realizes that Helen has taken the same potion. The two women finally understand that they are both alive because of the mysterious potion. Ernest thinks it is another miracle, but he goes upstairs to calm himself down. Left alone, Helen and Madeline begin fighting again. But eventually they realize that fighting is pointless because neither of them can die. They admit their mistakes and apologize to each other. Then they go to Ernest to tell him that they have finally made peace. But Ernest is completely fed up with their constant drama, so he asks them not to contact him again after this final job. He finishes repairing their damaged bodies, but once he leaves, there will be no one to fix them if they get injured again. So the two women knock Ernest unconscious and take him to Lyle. Later, Ernest wakes up in Lyle's mansion, where she offers him the potion in exchange for his skills as a doctor. After seeing what the potion can do, Ernest agrees at first, but changes his mind at the last moment. He doesn't want immortality, so he refuses the potion and tries to escape. Lyle lets him leave while a party is being held at her mansion for the people who have taken the potion. Ernest becomes trapped among the immortals, and Madeline and Helen soon spot him. When the exit doors are closed, Ernest runs to the roof, hoping to find another way out. Helen and Madeline chase him there. When the two women suddenly confront Ernest, he panics and accidentally falls over the edge of the roof. His clothes become caught on a ledge, leaving him hanging dangerously above the ground. With no way for Madeline and Helen to pull him back up, they convince him to take the potion so he can survive the fall. However, Ernest knows they only want to use him, so he refuses and lets himself fall. Luckily, Ernest lands in a swimming pool and survives the fall. He quickly escapes from the mansion alive. Meanwhile, Lysol kicks Madeline and Helen out of the group because of Ernest. 37 years later, Ernest has grown old and died. Madeline and Helen, on the other hand, are still alive, but their bodies have become badly damaged because no one is around to repair them. The two women continue arguing over trivial matters until they accidentally fall down the stairs and shatter their bodies. At the end of the film, Madeline and Helen are left together, unable to die and unable to repair their damaged bodies, continuing to argue for the rest of eternity. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like the video.